name is Amber Davis Williams. I have 3 children with Down syndrome. My 5.5-year-old also has an autism diagnosis and definitely some sensory seeking behaviors and needs, and was really the first reason that I looked into and explored QRI, and definitely had an interest in trying to understand more about what it was and how it could help Hamilton as well as my other children with Down syndrome. And about that time, I was in a car accident that left me paralyzed from the chest down. And so much of our focus became about my recovery and kind of figuring out how to live life again independently and care for my children from a wheelchair. And I initially regained a little bit of sensation, a little bit of my upper core, but that was pretty much it. I didn't have much recovery. And in June of 2018, Bonnie and some of the ladies here involved with the Brain Boost Center reached out to me and invited me to come to an intensive, and thought that they may be able to help me. They had never treated anyone with paralysis before, but had some success with stroke patients and felt like it was worth a try. So I came down for a week by myself and just came with, an open heart and an open mind, and still did not know really that much about the technicalities of how the lasers actually worked, and even what all I would experience during the intensive. So I was pleasantly surprised, and it was just such a welcoming, and the energy was just so positive, and it's really hard to put into words. You can't help but believe in your ability to heal, your body's ability to heal, especially after so many from the mainstream medical community have basically told you there's no hope and you're paralyzed, you'll never walk again, that's it, go home, learn how to live life in a wheelchair. And that's really what I did for the first year and a half. And so this was really my first inclination that there was any reason to hope, or that there was anything that could heal my body. And I immediately, from the laser treatments and from the different energy sessions and the different treatments that are done here at the intensive, could immediately feel the energy in my body healing, and the senses and the sensations coming back. And I, every day was regaining tactile sensations. So where I couldn't feel, if you touched, my toe or my leg or my abdomen, that feeling was coming back. And during the first intensive, I didn't really regain any functional movement, but I regained about 80% of the tactile sensation that I had lost. So whereas I couldn't feel anything on my abdomen, I could feel almost everything on my abdomen, and in most places on my legs and my feet by the end of my first intensive. And then probably a week or two after the intensive, the healing continued, and I still don't have lasers at home. So it was, I wasn't able to continue with any of the different protocols. But even still with that, within a week or two, I realized that I could contract most of all of my lower abdomen muscles, abdominal muscles. So my core had really come back. in a way that it just wasn't there before, especially, kind of below, I guess, my belly button. And so that was really exciting. And so I just kind of continued to work those muscles. And I really wanted, my main goal became, to get my son Hamilton back here, or to get myself back here and bring Hamilton with me, and see what the lasers could do to help him, really just with his sensory processing and his language delays. He's such a smart little boy and an affectionate little boy, but he was just stuck, and there were just so many layers that he couldn't get in or out what he needed to in order to progress. And so we came back in November of 2018, and from my experience, it's been again, it's hard to believe, even though I've experienced it already and seen my body heal and kind of come back to life. It's hard to put that hope and that faith out there again, and not wanting to be disappointed. And so that's been a challenge for me. And I, like last time, have just been, blown away with my body's response, and its ability to heal so quickly with, in just a few days. One of the things I realized last night is that I can, lift, I guess, my hips off the bed, whereas I couldn't before. If I had gotten into bed and I was too high up in the bed, I couldn't scoot myself back down, and I just couldn't, with my arms alone, lift my body far enough off the bed to be able to scoot down. And last night, I realized I was too high in the bed, and I got really frustrated because I knew there was nothing I can do about it but wiggle around and roll around and end up getting back out of the bed and back in the bed in a different spot. And something told me just to try, and I did. And I was able to just scoot down the bed as far as I wanted to go. And it was because I could lift, with my hip flexors and with my abdominal muscles that had come back. I could help lift my body rather than it just be all my arms. And that is just unbelievable. It was just there, and 24 hours ago it wasn't. And laying on the table today during, I think, probably the most intense session at an intensive. I think I had 18 lasers on me. Our goal was for 2 toes to move. And although I'll take my hips moving over my toes, I was lying there talking about them, and my toes moved. And so it's almost hard to believe, but to be able to feel the energy, and with paralysis, it's just, you can physically see that part of your body, and in your mind you can see your toe moving, you can think about your toe moving, but you're not really sure if it's moving. And for someone to be looking at your toe and say, yes, it's actually moving, was a pretty remarkable experience. So I'm just excited to see what else the lasers can do for my body, and what else can be woken up and really brought back. So it's hard being here with my son to really keep switching gears between my sessions and my healing, and then be focusing on what's going on with him. So I've really been able to kind of let the ladies and the therapist and the staff really, just kind of take over that part of his intensive. And so they've really seen so many positive changes in his ability to participate. He, when we got here, wanted, nothing to do with a laser, nothing to do with anyone touching him. He didn't want to lay still. He didn't want to lay down. And it was just constant sensory seeking, constant stimming, constant throwing. And now, by the end of the week, he'll sit through a session. He goes right to the therapist. He'll, lay down with them and cuddle into them and, not just tolerate, but, accept and really participate in some of the sessions. And that alone has just been, a remarkable change in his, just his whole sense of contentment. And I think that's really what I want most for him, is to be comfortable in his own skin and not feel like he's constantly having to seek input, to feel just his place in the world. And that's my biggest hope for him, is that he gets that centered, that peace, and to really be able to take in all the knowledge that he seeks so desperately, and for him to be able to get back out all of the things in his head that are going on and be able to verbalize and really interact with the world in a way that is not so desperate and so just unsettled. And to see him wake up this morning and he just smiled. That's all he did this morning, was just smile. He just sat there and smiled. He didn't get up and throw stuff. He didn't want to bang on anything. He just sat there and was just content. And that is what I want for him. And I think that's what we found here.